shenanigans happening
Okay,
at all.
okay, I'm here.
Okay, let's do it. Here we go. We're gonna have a little intro music.
Intro music. Love it. Great music.
Hello, hello, and good day, my people of the Zooms in the voiceover booths and beyond. I am so happy to see you all. Hey, Luke, great to see you again. Everyone, I am just, wanting to spread a little bit of love and kindness to those of us who may have been bailing ourselves out of a hurricane on the East Coast. Yeah, I understand that this might be a little bit traumatic for some people. So, boy, it's really tough when you're sitting here in California, although now we have a gloomy day. But I just want to say, just extend some love and kindness to everybody who has had a rough night. And hoping that maybe that will not be continuing beyond. But yes, love, yes. Hi, Carla. Great to see you. I know. I was like, what kind of music do I want that is not depressing? So, hello, my people. My name is Siobhán. I'm so happy that you are here with us at Edge Studios' 38th session of Ask Me Anything, meaning we've almost done this 40 times, which would be 80 weeks, 80. So that's really exciting. I brought you a guest star today. I do have the biggest baby Yoda I have seen that is not the puppet. And so he joins me for some extra good vibes this Thursday morning. And to my Zoom, what is this? This is my left. To my Zoom left, and I have no idea where he is in your space, we have our Chief Edge Officer, David Goldberg. Good afternoon.
Hey, everyone. So, you guys know that everyone here at Edge think the world of Siobhán, but you missed the greatest opportunity. I can't believe I just realized something. So this is episode 38. So this will partially give away my age, but you should have played 38 Special. How many of you out there know 38 Special? Yeah.
I don't know that song.
I didn't think you'd know 30. No, it's not a song, it's a group. I didn't think you'd know them. Yeah, you're like many generations younger than me, I think.
Not
Yeah,
that
38
many.
Special was a big group back in like the 80s, rock, like almost leaning toward Southern country rock, I'd say. But anyway, some good stuff. I think I'll listen to them later tonight.
We're really getting into it because fun fact is that David used to work almost, I want to say entirely with recording bands as an engineer and not voiceover. Am I right that it was entirely a music studio?
Yeah, Edge was completely music at some point until the drugs got the best of me and we switched to voiceover. And
Not him.
I have to explain that because it was not me doing drugs. That was part of the problem because I didn't do drugs. Um, Edge Studio was back in the day was a very very successful music studio, and we recorded lots of big bands stuff. I still hear on the radio all the time, national acts and stuff. But drugs were insane, and I was the only clean person in the studio. And at some point, after just crazy amounts of ongoings in studios, I finally told bands, you know what, I just have to make this dry studio, and went drug free and smoke free and lost half our clients. And a month later went cigarette free, and there went the other half of the clients. And so I switched to voiceover. And here I am, and that was about, I don't know, 15 or so years ago. And so now it's a voiceover. I miss music. But I love voiceover, so it's all good. Anyway, we move on.
Yes, I love that crossover. For folks who know our lead engineer, Kevin at Edge Studio, he also was in a metal band
Yeah.
before he, yes, Luke knows, before he got into voiceover. So you know what? There are many paths and many journeys. Journey, David knows all about you. Yeah. Woo! I am, I want to be like, sometimes you're like, it's the coffee, it's the thing. It's really just, I can't help myself. I am so happy to see everyone. Okay, my dear friends, the way this is gonna roll, if it is your first time, welcome, welcome. We're so happy that you are here. I like to have my Zoom experience in the gallery mode because what you will notice is that there are lots of videos on, there are lots of home studios, there are lots of very cute faces. And it's nice to have a little bit of community on your Thursday. But if you want to watch the speaker mode, you can change your view settings on the upper right corner of your Zoom. The other function that you want to pay attention to, of course, is the chat. Depending on how you're having this experience, your chat is likely going to be on the right-hand side of your Zoom, and that is where we engage because, yes, you are all on mute. It is not that we don't love you. It's just that Zoom don't work like that. It don't like it when many people are doing the talkings, and then it just feels kind of it just is a pain that I experience when I go to Zooms that don't manage the audio. I just can't handle it. What we will do today is just throw all of your Q&As into the chat. David and I are here to hang out for the next hour. It's just me and him today. It's your faves. And we can talk about all things VO. Obviously, David's here with a plethora of experience. I am here just to keep the... I'm here for the vibes. And you can also just say hello, where you're joining us from. If you're in New York and you haven't drowned, let us know. If you have, I know a few people were bailing out their toilets last night, some friends of mine. So that sucks for you guys if that was happening. It has been a tough time. Yes, Todd, Grogu is here in the house. And we've got Atlanta. Jerry, it's great to see you. We've got thumbs down for our floods happening. And yeah, you're right. I did not know Special 38, which is a real 38 special. Look, I'm just making it
special,
worse.
yeah.
Let me stop with all of that. Okay, great. And everyone's really proud of you, David, for having a clean studio space. And
cool.
You're cool for that. That was a cool choice you made.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. This is great. So as some folks may or may not know, depending on what you know about Edge Studio, we do have an education as well as a production department. I will emphasize at this point in time that our doors are still not open to the general public as they have been, which is super sad face for me. I'm looking forward to the day we throw another mixer in the studio again. But so there is a production department, meaning we work with other clients on projects that need our services. So Luke is asking David, are there any roles I can apply for with Edge Studio?
It's a super smart question. And if I say yes, then we'll be inundated with resumes. And but I will say at the moment, no. However, if you are interested in working in any capacity at our space, definitely get in touch with me or anyone at Edge and let us know what positions you could be best at, whether it's administration or casting or recording or editing or engineering, and so on. So yeah, definitely send over your resumes because fortunately, from our perspective, the industry is still growing and we are still hiring. So yeah, send over your resumes. I'll be more than happy to look at anything. And make sure you say that you're on the Ask Me Anything because I'll take extra care.
What about auditioning for roles for voiceover within the production department at Edge?
Yeah, best thing to do for that is to send your demo to demos@edgestudio.com. That's demos is plural, demos@edgestudio.com.
And just a little pro tip, I think we all know this anyway, but any extra love you want to throw towards, Kendra and Suzanne when you send a demo does not go unnoticed. So, and by that I mean a word of kindness along with your demo. This is the same thing as the pitching that we talk about often in these sessions, but it goes a long way.
Yeah, so let's go a bit more into detail, even though this wasn't the question. But when you are sending your demo to a studio, whether it is Edge or another studio, there are a couple of things that the vast majority of voice actors do, which we believe is not optimal. And so I'll share my thoughts on this briefly, because we are inundated with demos. And it's just like you being at home, being inundated by pizza coupons, or flyers for pizza restaurants that come into your mailbox or your email. And so you need to do something a little different, right? You need to make it clear to whoever it is that you're marketing to make it clear to them what you do that's different than all of the other voice actors out there, right? It's not putting down your colleagues out there, your peers, but rather distinguishing yourself. What special service do you offer? How can you make it easier for me to file you in our database? So most demos come in, 10, 15 demos could come in a single day, and the voice actor pretty much says exactly this. Hi, I'm a voice actor. I do commercials. I do narrations. I'm attached to my demo. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. So that doesn't really help us know how to categorize that voice actor. It does really nothing for us. So we're looking for a voice actor who can email us and say, I'm an American English narrator with who specializes in e-learning and educational videos, something like that. Well, now we know the language you speak and we know how to categorize you, and that makes a huge difference. I also think, as to Siobhan's point, begin your emails with some type of compliment. It's huge. Start with a very short compliment. Hey, I was on the Ask Me Anything, and I appreciate what you guys do. Or looks like you works with some great clients. I'd love to partner with you. Third thing I would suggest is to not do the sales thing as much as explore a relationship with a potential client. So you might say, for example, you your company puts out some terrific educational material. It's very impressive. I also specialize in voiceover applications for educational videos and tutorials and how-tos and so on. And maybe there's a match. Can we find a time to jump on a quick phone call and explore and see if it makes sense to work together? And build a relationship, you guys, with a potential client rather than just sell yourself. So yeah, I know that wasn't the question, but hopefully that's helpful.
Relationships, the name
Yeah,
of the game.
it is. They are.
They really are, and we all need compliments in this 2021 experience we're living.
Yeah, the
Um,
thing about the compliment is it warms up the listener or the reader, right? It gets them, sort of enthusiastic about reading the rest of your email. Keep your emails real short, guys, like really short. Also, and maybe this might be equally or even more important than everything else I've said. Get someone's name to address your email to. So we get so many emails, I mean, a lot of emails that say, Dear Sirs. And actually, the head of our production department is a woman. And you can't imagine a faster turnoff than that. So call the front desk of wherever you're marketing to and say, hey, I'm looking to explore relationships as a voice actor with your production company. If you don't mind, please give me the first name of who to attach or send my email to. Get a first name so you can write and say, hey, Karen, Bob at the front desk gave me your name. It looks like you've done some amazing work in the educational and explainer video world in video production. I'm a voice actor who specializes in those same genres, and perhaps it would make sense to work together. Let's find the time to chat. That's a way to market yourself.
so this is from Anne. Also, Anne, I didn't know you were in Des Moines. That's awesome. I was thinking about some of the states I've never like spent the night in, and I'm like, I have really not explored Iowa. I got. She's shaking her head. But your home studio is super gorgeous. P.S. Also, for looking at the Zoom squares in the gallery mode. So Anna's asking, classic question of the ages. What is the best way to get an agent, David?
Confidence. In
Mm-hmm.
addition to the things I've already said, confidence. So everything I've said, don't sell yourself, but build a relationship and get someone's name rather than dear gentlemen or dear sirs or to whom it may concern. All the things I said about marketing hold true. On top of that, confidence. Yeah, just be comfortable when you speak with an agent. You have to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable speaking with an agent, then why would you ever, or why would they expect you to ever be comfortable speaking into a microphone? That's key, and be comfortable with awkward conversation. So if the agent says to you, well, what type of work have you done? Well, let's suppose you're brand new. Might that make you uncomfortable? If you can't handle a question like that, then you have no right calling an agent at this point. Maybe a local agent that does very local work, and that might be fine. But if you're talking about getting a large agent, like a national or international agent, make sure you will feel comfortable asking, rather answering any tough questions that they may throw your way. So when faced with that particular question, what have you done? If you haven't done any professional work, you can answer and say, look, while I'm new at this business, I've just trained with these 5 different coaches. I've spent a lot of time working on the craft, and I held off reaching out to you until I was confident that I could convey or recreate the sound on my demo at a given audition. I've also trained hard to be able to self-direct. So when you send me auditions, you can be assured that the quality you get, the vocal performance and audio quality that you hear in my demo is exactly what you'll get back. Just come up with something and make sure you know how to answer these questions in a comfortable, confident way. I think that is critical.
If I may add to that too, one of the things I see working the best for voice actors who are new, green-ish, is, and I know that this pains people in some ways of like who are, for my more introverted voice actors, but being continuing to network. And networking can mean joining Facebook groups or Slack channels or study halls or communities that develop on LinkedIn, and just continuing to engage. Our social sphere at this point is very virtual. I know there was the event in Dallas, and some people probably went to that. But for some folks who are still not doing that, I completely understand. And finding ways to talk to other voice actors. And what that is something that I have seen work really well. And it's like, oh, I'm looking for representation, and people might be like, oh, you know what, my agent actually is looking to bring new people on, or whatever it is. That's unfortunately, and or whatever, this is just how these industries are. Who how you're engaging with other people. That's why we continue to emphasize relationships, and with your peers, with your colleagues, with companies, all of that stuff. I think I have seen folks sort of break new ground through those kind of communal interactions. Because if the question might be like, how do I even know which agents to write to, sometimes that helps too, where you meet people and talk to them about who they work with or have worked with. That has been good for them. So that's what I would add to David's response.
And I will add
uh,
a couple of other things about confidence. So for some reason, I'm thinking at least 80, maybe even 90% of voice actors who reach out to us, whether they think that we are agents and they're looking for representation, or they recognize the fact that we're a studio and we just have a casting library, whichever the fact, so many voice actors say, please let me know what you think of my demo. There couldn't be a statement that shows less confidence than that. I mean, think about it, guys. Like, would you ever send a resume to a company that's looking to hire you at a desk job and say, well, here's my resume that you've requested. Please let me know what you think of my resume. I don't think you would do that. And so I don't understand why people do that with demos. But again, that's just a lack of confidence. Be comfortable with it. Um, and further to that, so write out any questions that you think might be tough, that might be thrown your way, and have comfortable responses ready to go. If the client says, hey, we're not hiring, or we're not looking to represent any more voice actors at this moment, what are you going to say? Okay, fine, thank you. Well, that's not very good, right? Maybe you want to talk about the fact that if you contact them 6 months down the road, you'll stay in tune with them. You'll keep them updated. You'll add them to your newsletter list. Whatever it happens to be, have I guess know what you're going to say, and always say it in a comfortable, confident way.
I also feel the desire to read a little nugget in the chat from James Andrews. Our coach is here with us with his camera off doing his thing. But he said, which is important, his 2 cents about finding an agent is don't even think about it until you can see immediately how you could make money. How, I think he means, how the agent can make money working with you.
Yes.
So you're gonna want some body of work, some examples of things you've done. I think a connection is good. Someone's like, you should work with this agent, and that agent's like, I'll take you because I like that connection. But also your body of work being something you can show. Of course, we get into websites, we get into all of those things. Like how are you looking to show that you're ready for an agent? It's all very legit. I also just want to say people were drowning, bailing themselves out in Charlottesville as well. I'm so sorry, my East Coast and Southeastern Seaboard friends. This is a real bummer. Okay.
Wait.
So,
Sorry. I keep adding more information here, but there's one other important thing um, with agents, and that is to recognize the fact that most voice actors get most of their work through other means. An agent is not the like necessarily the best way for voice actors to get work. It can be amazing. If you have a good relationship with a good agent and they send you good auditions, you get some national work. I mean, that's fantastic in terms of being lucrative. But agents typically focus on commercials, and a lot of voice actors prefer to focus on other genres, whether it be documentaries or audiobooks or corporate training videos or telephony, and that's great stuff also. But it's pretty seldom that you'll get that type of work through agents. So again, if you're not repped by an agent, that's perfectly fine. I recently saw a survey that showed that the vast majority of voice actors are not repped by agents, and there are thousands of successful voice actors out there. So you don't need to have an agent. Just make that. I just want to make that clear. Okay. Sorry, Siobhan. I feel like we should move to another question, but I keep extending this one.
that's okay. So I guess this is in a similar vein of, what are some best practices for pounding the pavement when you are new? And should I see what sticks to the wall or zero in on certain types of work for voiceover when I am new? That's from Michael. Hi, Michael.
Yeah, that is really the chicken egg thing, right? What do you do first? And there's theory to both. So to point out both ends of the spectrum, one is you sort of go out there and offer a little bit of everything and see what you get hired for, and then maybe focus on that. The other end of the spectrum being go out there and focus on one specific genre, and focus just on those clients and hope you get that type of work. There really is merit to both. It really depends on the voice actor and your ability to market and how you will market. Every time I work with another voice actor who's sort of up and coming, or even if they're established but looking to expand their career, it's something that we have to focus on, right? Before I say to them, go off, and do your thing now, we have to talk about like how to do that thing. And it really, both ends of the spectrum work for different voice actors for a bunch of different reasons. So there's not one right answer. I wish there was. I wish I could just say, this way, the egg first or the chicken first, that's best. But that's not the case. All of you are different. You all have different types of voices, different abilities at marketing. You will market in different, you have different amounts of time to market, different strengths and weaknesses. And there's just so many variables that need to be considered to really come up with a marketing plan. Um, I would say that one of my favorite things to do when working with a voice actor, is to sort of help them, to work together with them and say, let's come up with a plan of attack that makes sense for you. This makes sense, whether it's a dedicated demo over for one specific client or one specific genre, or be a jack of all trades. It all depends on that person. So I can't answer. I'd have to work with you, and I'd be more than happy to work with you if you want, and book a session or two with me, and we could figure that out for you.
I think, in terms of pounding the pavement, you have to sort of try to schedule your time wisely so you don't feel burned out, overwhelmed, stressed, depressed, all those things that can happen from like something new that you don't, that has a lot of potential avenues. So scheduling time to, send out pitches, scheduling time to kind of interact on social media, to meet other voice actors and, have um, uh, relationships with other people in this field. We have our free career resource center where you can where you can practice auditions. There's just a lot of different things that you can do, and I think it's hard. It's a kind of feels not fair to say you should do all of them, but spacing out your time and how you do them, I think it can be helpful in terms of just Tom Deere, one of our coaches at Edge, really believes in ironing out your day so that you don't just get like lost in the weeds of like moving forward in this field. So finding time to sort of think about what are the things that you'd like to do, whether you're like, I'm going to do these audition websites and I'm going to do X amount of hours a week just auditioning for things that I feel are in my wheelhouse. I think that's great. And I think like creating a schedule to do that is something that will help you have a little bit of a grip on how all of this goes down.
And to take that a step further, though, so a lot of voice actors say that it's a numbers game. Like you need to send out so many auditions, right? Because the more auditions you send out, the more work you can get. Or if you're pitching to agents, contact as many agents as you can, because the more you contact, the more likely you are to get repped by one, or the more clients you interact with, or cold call, whatever, however your means of auditioning and marketing are. It's a numbers game, but that's not always the case. And while it is for a few, I think for most people, for most voice actors, I suggest that they don't go by the numbers game. I think that they should put more time into each individual marketing attempt. So instead of sending out 10 crappy auditions, send out one that kicks ass. And I think that in the long run, you will actually be more successful. Okay. Again, it's not for everyone. And that's not the exact ratio, 10 to 1, instead of 10 bad auditions, send out one good one. It still depends on the person. And it's something that I enjoy working with voice actors on. But it is most of the time more important to do a good job, to take your time to research a potential client or to research an agent, to really take your time to understand what the script is about when you audition. Put the time into something and do a good job, and then you'll get somewhere. It makes a huge difference for the vast majority of voice actors.
David, what are this is from Angeline, what genres, she wrote categories, I think she means sort of genres, are most popular right now in voiceover?
Well, it's sort of an ambiguous question. Do you mean popular in terms of how much work there is, or what are more voice actors vying for right now? I mean, I can answer both, because the vast majority of voice actors are shooting out for commercial work. Commercial work is exciting. Almost every voice actor has a commercial demo, right? And it's sexy work. It's glamorous work. It's really fun to hear your voice back on radio or TV. Even from my perspective of directing, as I'm not a voice actor, I think probably most of you know I'm a director. And so when I hear back something, a commercial on TV or radio, that's really exciting. Just like it is, and referring back to our original conversation today, when I turn on the radio and I hear a song on the radio that I directed, even if it was 20 years ago, some hit from back then, I'm thinking, well, that's really cool. It's still like on air. And it's really exciting for me. So yeah, more voice actors are going for commercial work, but when you look at the entire industry, only like 3 or 4% of the industry is commercial work. Yet almost 100% of voice actors have a commercial demo. So, in terms of that, I think that's the more popular demo. What tends to be hired the most these days, or what clients are hiring voice actors for the most, from our perspective and from other studio owners who I speak with on a regular basis, it is corporate training, corporate sales, educational, e-learning, explainers, tutorials. Those are the areas that are just they're huge. They have been huge, and they are expanding. Audiobooks are also expanding very quickly, like that industry as a whole, but it's still much smaller than corporate work and training and e-learning. Yeah, corporate e-learning, that is huge right now. Very, very big work. And a nice thing about corporate work and e-learning work is very often it is a repeat type of work. So if a client hires you for a training video, or they hire you to narrate some modules for an e-learning instructional tutorial, there's a likely chance that if you do a good job, that they will hire you back again. And that is optimal, right? You want those repeat clients. So those are good areas of work. But that does not mean for a moment that because you are a voice actor, you should have an e-learning demo and a corporate demo. Because honestly, it just may not be what you're best suited for. Your strengths may be that better suited to audiobooks, or better suited for commercial work. Or you may just not have the personal interest to narrate long scripts that are, multiple hours long with boring training video, dry material. You may only want to get into commercial work, and that's fine. If you want to get into commercial work, then have a commercial demo. It sort of it frustrates me, and I find it interesting and odd how many voice actors are out there who come to me because they need help with their career, and they say, yeah, here's my demo. I'm just not getting work. It's a commercial demo. And I say to them, well, what kind of work do you want? And they say, I love audiobook work. I say, so why do you have a commercial demo? And they say, well, aren't I supposed to have a commercial demo? And I'll say, well, if you want commercial work, yes. And if you want audiobook work, no. You don't need a commercial demo, so it all is personal. Our industry is large enough, guys, that you can do what you want. You can focus on a genre, you can focus on a subgenre, right? I know voice actors who specialize in science fiction audiobook narration, like not just audiobooks, but just sci-fi or just nonfiction or just contemporary classics. I mean, a lot of voice actors have a specialty, and that's great. Um, but you can also be a jack of all trades. That has a negative connotation, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but there's a lot of room out there, and everyone is different, like I said earlier, and you need to figure out the best and most marketable path for you.
So, okay, we have Dave, who is saying that he does a lot of voiceover for clients he's landed, plus he does external pay to play websites. And now this is a question that has come up before. Can I work with a union agent in a major market and still work freelance on other sites? Is it an either or can I do both? We talked about this quite a lot with James last week, and so there is a recording of that on our YouTube if you want to bounce back. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but David, do you want to kind of tackle that response more briefly?
Yeah, sure. I'll make it very short here. And just for clarification, when Siobhán read that question, the person who asked the question referenced paid to play sites, which is a sort of the street informal name for online casting sites. And I personally prefer that word. I think it's just a nicer word. Um, so the answer to your question is it depends. Sorry, there's not a yes, no answer. It depends. It depends on the state you live, whether or not it is a right to work state. That's very big. Um, Depends on if you want to go FICOR. Let me take that back and say it depends on how long you've been at this. And if you're ready potentially to go FICOR, which is an abbreviation for financial core, which is a status in the union where you can theoretically get do union work and non-union work. There are some genres of work out there which are not really represented by unions at this point. So there are some variables, and if we had if 2 weeks ago, I guess that would be Siobhán episode 37. You guys can listen back to that then and hear details from James, who is, as Siobhán mentioned, one of our coaches and is phenomenal and happens to be on this call right now.
Yeah, and he's dropping gems in the chat. I love that I have a little I have a video list of James Andrews with us today.
I've never said this, but when we have these Zoom calls, 38 of them now, I'm always tempted to look at the chat as you guys are chatting because I can see it from like from the corner of my eye. I can see like the chat going up and down, but I'm trying so hard to stay focused on the camera, like right there. It's really hard. Like I'd love to see what the chat, what we guys are writing. I have no idea.
David experiences deep FOMO of the chat. And that's okay, David. That's what I'm here for. I send him the fun things. Don't worry. But it is a good place to be. And yes, commercial and the scripts are short. Okay, Chris Reed is asking that he's looking at a lot of intro classes. There's a lot of VO education out there. David, what's great about Investigate Voiceover and our class, and why would you recommend that to be a place for totally new folks to begin?
Yeah, so Investigate Voiceover is the name of one of our classes. It's an intro class. And I really have come to the conclusion over the years, I've come to the knowledge that voiceover acting is not for everyone. It's just not for everyone. There are lots of reasons why it's not right for certain people, whether they have a speech impediment or an accent that just won't really land them any work or enough reasonable work to make it worthwhile. Reading disorders, people who are uncomfortable at the microphone, the list goes on and on. And it sounds exciting, right? So if someone naturally has a terrific voice and they're told their entire lives, wow, you have a great voice, you ought to do radio, they want to jump into voiceover. But again, because it's not right for everyone, I think it just makes a logical sense to have sort of like a quick understanding of the industry to find out like really what's involved and could this be for you. And so I will always encourage anyone who's new to take a private evaluation. I would suggest it with one of our coaches, myself or James, or you mentioned Tom, or we have about 25 coaches or 26 coaches at Edge Studio right now. I'd suggest to take a private evaluation or take the Investigate Voiceover class. which is I think a 3-hour class. Siobhán, you'll know better. It's 3 hours, right?
It is
I
a
should
three
know.
hour.
Okay.
David's
So,
like,
well, it
I
used to be
haven't.
4 hours, but I sort of remembered that it was shortened to 3 hours. But I wasn't entirely sure. I thought I recalled that. So yeah, it's a 3-hour class. It's an intro class. It teaches you a bit about the industry. It gives you the opportunity. Oh, I know how to say this. The best way to define the investigate voiceover class. It will help you figure out if voiceover is for you, and it will help us figure out if you are for voiceover. So we can sort of summarize at the end of the class. Yeah, maybe this makes sense, but you might say, well, but after learning about the industry, maybe it doesn't make sense. So again, if you are new to this industry, before you plop down the money for a demo, before you spend the time training, take the investigate voiceover class or a private evaluation with one of us. That I would
It's
strongly encourage that.
it's okay that you haven't taken it in a while, David. You're investigating voiceover every day, but it is a 3 hour class. It is taught by a working professional, and what we do is we just like iron out all the details, the ins and outs for you. Everything from starting off to your home studio intro to what the work entails, which is a lovely, transparent reality check for folks. They're often like, cool, y'all are not going to be like animation superstars next week, like that's ironed in there. But it's also a place where you get a full evaluation from a coach who, as David said, writes you you receive an evaluation in your inbox after the class, where they talk to you about your reads behind the mic and what they could see you doing if you were to pursue this. Or, as David said, if this just doesn't seem like something that we can see a path for you. Because we don't want you to spend a lot of money and record demos and work on something that just really may not be a proper fit. So I think it's really worth it, and it's also a really fun time. I miss the in studio days, of course, but we still do it online. We're getting thumbs up from some people in the space, and an honest evaluation, Jerry says, which is really important. I do, coming from the theater world, I'm very used to criticism. It doesn't impact me emotionally anymore, but it's good to hear. Is there an equipment requirement for the IVO class? Great question. There is not. I'm actually communicating with y'all on my laptop microphone right now, and that is all that you need. So we're not going to criticize any of your space or anything like that. And in fact, you don't have to look. It's a cameras off experience too, so you can feel comfortable in your space, doing the thing. So yeah, we recommend it, and I think it's a good time. Anything else on the IVO, David, before we move on?
No, I think that's a great summary. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We've got people, Bruce, who resisted the Zoom dynamic before, and now he's in. We're in. The Zoomie goes to you, Bruce. It goes to you. So, okay. We've got Tanya. Okay. The where to send your demos again, I'll just say out loud to the space. It's demos@edgestudio.com. And then, okay, I'm just continuing to go down. Yes, all of our Ask Me Anythings are recorded and I post them on social media and they're also on our YouTube channel. So I tend to post them, later in the day or on Friday, and you can enjoy looking at our faces or doing the dishes to our voices after this, whatever you need. Hi to Cleon and welcome back. It's great to see you again. Leslie, you're welcome. For clarity on agents. Agents are always confusing. And as James said, you absolutely don't need an agent to work in non-union VO. I'm just kind of going through this chat. Here we go. Dion, should I have a separate resume for voiceover, or can I put it with my on-camera credits? Ooh.
Yeah, fancy question. It depends. Like every answer I've had today. Guys, it depends. What's a client going to think? If you are marketing, I have a good example. If you're marketing a very specific type of voiceover, which could turn off a potential client, then you want to separate your skills, your crafts, right? So if the example would be if you're marketing yourself as a voice actor who specializes in religious education material, religious work. So you record, for example, museum exhibits of religious artifacts and documentaries on religion and nonfiction audiobooks, and you record Bibles on I was going to say CD. That's so antiquated. It's so weird to say CD. If you record religious material and religious educational material, and now you also have an erotica client, for erotica audiobooks, well, maybe you want to separate those, like it depends. And sometimes different things go together very nicely. And it's actually useful for the client to know that you do something that will enhance your read. So just think about it from your client's perspective. Would it be useful or a turnoff for your client to know that you do something else? That's the best way to answer your question.
I also want to say that I think I don't know. I don't know what I want to add to that actually. I think I think that's I think that's super helpful, and I think I am going to continue pouring through this conversation. The
While you work
resumes,
through, I want to give you another example of that because I know a lot of audiobook narrators, like a ton of audiobook narrators, who also market in the commercial area, but they have different websites for the two, especially when when the audiobooks they read tend to be more straight style, contemporary classic, nonfiction, and so forth, because they're concerned that as they have told me many times in the past, is that a commercial voice actor is looking for someone perhaps to deliver one style to give all that bang in 30 seconds when an audiobook narrator, I'm sorry, when an audiobook production company is casting a very different type of voice actor, right? An audiobook casting company or production company is looking to find a voice actor who has stamina and longevity and character development and consistency for multiple hours at a time, and they don't want a commercial voice actor. To them, it's a completely different set of tools and could almost be a turnoff. And this is what many audiobook narrators have told me in the past. So they sort of separate their audiobook work from the commercial work, sometimes even with a different website. So yeah, again, you just have to play by ear as to what it is that you do and so on.
I want to do a gentle plug, or a not a plug, but I'll say that I attended a VO study hall hosted by one of our community members here at Edge Studio, and she in our Edge Studio Ask Me Anythings, and she really ironed out. We looked at different voiceover resumes and talked about voiceover resumes, and I had never thought about a voiceover resume, but it's a thing that is happening, and there's a lot of ways to do it. I recommend, if you're making one, to not post it on your website, because it'll constantly be changing and it's so easy for it to get like dated looking. But a lot of folks, what you can do is you can say on your website, resume available upon request, so that people can inquire for it and you can send it on over to them. And if folks, I'll just do this gentle nudge too, if folks in the chat have a voiceover resume that they'd be willing to share with other folks who are trying to figure out what it should look like, if that's something you're comfortable with showing what yours looks like, then you can drop that in the chat so that folks can sort of follow up. It kind of makes me feel like I should have a Slack channel for us. Does everybody like Slack here? I love Slack. It's my jam. So, okay, we'll put a pin in a potential Edge Slack. But we got Larry asking what he
But
says is
wait,
a
wait,
generic.
sorry,
Yeah.
Siobhán, for interrupting again. But I'll tell you that at Edge, at least, when we cast, we very, very seldomly, if even never, really look at resumes. To us, the demo is the resume. Demo
Yeah.
is an abbreviation for demonstration. That demonstrates your ability. And very often, we're fine to bring on a voice actor who is new in the industry, as long as they have the right read, right? As long as they can do what they need to do. We don't necessarily have to hire someone with lots of experience. And most of the time, not always, but most of the time, clients also don't care about, we found, how much experience you have, how long you've done this. That's not a question we typically get from our clients. And again, I'm only speaking on behalf of Edge. Our clients typically say, I want to hear the demo of a voice actor who sounds like this. They describe a voice, a male, female, age, and so on, some attributes to or characteristics of that voice that they were looking for. We supply them with some demos, and they say, great, I like person A or person B. Done. No resumes involved, no questions as to, well, okay, we like person B. How long has person B been in the industry? And we don't get those questions. Again, second time I'm saying it, that's only Edge, but this is after a lot of years of tens and tens of thousands of productions and tens of thousands of castings and so on. So maybe the resume is sort of new in the industry, and we don't use it. Maybe it's been around for a while, and we just don't use it. I don't know, but um, and maybe we will begin using it. I can't imagine so. But if it's a thing, then certainly have a resume, or at least be prepared. Maybe at a minimum, be prepared to have a template resume, and if you need to send it to someone, you can fill in the gaps, bring it up to date. But for us, like I said, your demo and your website, that communicates everything we need. Your website should show the equipment you have and the experience you have and your comfort and stuff like that. So I personally would not need a resume.
Yeah, and Dion, I think it's awesome that you've got on-camera stuff. I mean, you're doing all the things, and for thinking about the crossover is great. It will definitely help you with the work that you're doing in voiceover. And yeah, let people know in the chat if you want to communicate about how we're making our resumes look good, even though, as David said, Edge's production doesn't look at them at all. And I would say, your website is your one sheet. We're talking about film now, but I think the website is extremely important. And then having a resume available for folks who ask for it is something that we have heard folks say people are asking for more. So I hate to be like, once again, do it all, but here we are. So we're doing it. Okay. So then I want to move on from there. And sometimes I get so invested, you guys, that I just like lose. Oh, wait, there was a really great, it's from Larry. This is a great, he said, generic question. And we're going to pivot to talking about auditions now. So David, do you feel that the conversational read spec, we all know what we're talking about. Keep it conversational. Don't be announcery. Do you feel that that has gone too far as a default request? So he was just working on a job as a crew on video for a portable generator and a remote client direction to talent. So the client was directing the talent to repeatedly make it conversational as the talent was yelling over the generator noise. That feels very 2021 to me, actually. I love that. Okay, David, what do you think?
So here's my thought on this. That is, by the way, a really interesting question. I think the word conversational is not overused, but it's not understood, because conversational is one of 1,000 different voices we have. Like in real life, in everyday conversation, you may talk to a friend who's in a bad way and you're empathetic or sympathetic. You may talk to a friend who's having the best day of their life and you speak, very enthusiastically. You might be speaking over a generator, right? Like half the Northeast right now is probably doing, and trying to talk above the loud generator noise to someone else saying, give me a gas can, like you're yelling just so they can hear you. But that is a true conversation. So that is conversational. Generally, what I have found is that generally when clients say they want a conversational tone, it's just a nicer way of saying, we don't want the hard sell announcer style sales guy voice or sales gal voice. That's all that means. Because if you think about it, you could break down your voiceover performance to be in one of two ways. Either you speak naturally or conversationally, or you add some affectation to your voice. And whether that affectation is the announcer style, the sales style, or an animated voice or a character or something like that, if it's not one of those, then it's conversational. So it's not that it's overused. It's just a very ambiguous term or a synonym for saying not announcer. So I think that's all clients mean. But again, I think clients use the word conversational to generally mean like a one-on-one, like a conversation you'd have with someone one-on-one in a typical room where there's no generator, no screaming involved, nothing weird going on. So even though it doesn't, again, by definition, conversational means anything that is natural, I think clients typically mean, like I said, just one-on-one, just like I'm talking with all of you right now. That's typically what they mean by conversational. The problem is with voice actors is you guys generally are too dramatic. I mean, I've heard more auditions in my life, I guarantee, than all of you put together. I don't care how many you've heard. I've heard that many within every month. And yeah, the vast majority of auditions are too dramatic. They're not conversational sounding. They're announcer. They have some weird affectation. It just doesn't sound like a real person. So, um, so very often as the voice actor or me as the director, you need to figure out what exactly it is that the client wants. We very often go back to clients and say, great, you asked for a conversational voice. Can we get a bit more information from you? You know, do you want it to be empathetic or enthusiastic? And we ask the questions. And when you have the opportunity to ask, it's great. Always take that opportunity. It shows the client that you're invested in their project. I recognize the fact that you can't always ask because very often you can't get in touch with the client because you're going through an online casting site or something like that. But when you can ask, definitely ask. It's super useful. I,
I,
I hope I answered the
I'm
question
gonna,
somewhere in there.
yeah, I want to speak. I think about this a lot actually, because of, I think it can actually cycles right back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this session. And what the client is trying to get at is relationship, right? And I've learned a lot about this from coaching with James Andrews, that like, what is your relationship to the conversation? Like, what conversation are you having? Who is it with? Because it creates a specificity that isn't like a generic, I don't know, like announcement about the product or the brand or whatever it is. Hello, Kicking has a cute little young one in the square. I just want to say hi. That's cute. And so, these directions of conversational, and they want to create a specific relationship. I think as we get more connected online, our relationships get kind of weirder, and we are more disconnected, right? So we're constantly looking. You'll see. I mean, branding all over the place is like trying to make things. The word immersive is super buzzy because it involves. There's so much more involvement than something that you passively consume. So we want to, promote these products or brands with a conversational tone that directly addresses the listener in a way that brings them in. And you need specificity to do that. And you need to kind of actually construct an imaginary relationship or whatever it is, however you do it. James is really good at teaching how to do that. And that's what they're going for. Now, what Larry is describing is a bananas scenario, which is also hilarious. And Larry, I would absolutely be like holding the boom. And actually, I'm too small to hold a boom. But if I'm, allegedly holding the, I would be also rolling my eyes because like that doesn't make any sense. And what you're dealing with then is a not good director, which leaves it up to you to actually create a specific conversation that makes this thing sound good to bring the listener in to whatever this story it is that you are telling. So that's my opinion on all of those things. What to do about it? It does get so frustrating, and for my women in the space, you also will see things like yell, but don't be annoying. Be excited, but not shrill. We have these kind of constant things that we're kind of receiving these notes for, and it's our job to do our best, even if the director is like, not really what we need. So
But
that's my
there's an
opinion
easy,
on.
yeah, and there's an easy way to come up with the right voice, or most of the time there is. So if a client says to you, we want a conversational voice, and and you have to be in the commercial, you see the person yelling over a generator, then you should just stand back from the microphone, maybe like a foot away from the microphone, and yell, but really pretend you're talking over a generator. That is conversational. If a client says to you they want a voice actor who speaks in a very, very low volume, but they want immense enthusiasm, then just talk like you're in the library and you bump into someone you haven't seen in 20 years. Like, holy crap, look who it is. I'm so excited to see you. I mean, that's exactly what they're looking for, right? A soft volume, but with enthusiasm. Like, come up with some time and place in real life that you would use that particular voice, that type of voice, and actually say a statement prior to the recording that leads you into that particular emotion or into that right voice that the client is looking for. It's called a lead-in, by the way. You actually just say a little phrase up front and then just delete it from the script, or sorry, you delete it from the recording prior to sending it to the client. And it really just helps establish the voice that the client wants. So most of the time you can decipher what it is that the client wants. Even if you don't have the opportunity to ask them questions, you can decipher what they want, find or come up with a place, a time and place in real life that you would use that particular conversation, I'm sorry, that conversational voice, and come up with a little lead-in, like a little phrase, a catchphrase that leads you into that voice and into the recording. It's generally very simple to do.
Um, yeah, I agree with all of that. And James is here saying the idea is to personalize what you're saying as much as possible. John has a great note about, he said, maybe David said this, but many listeners are in their car, driving, listening to podcasts, ads, or whatever. And we have an intimate relationship there in the car. So you can picture sitting shotgun in someone's car and talking to them about, for me, it's like, would I talk to them about a hamburger? I don't eat meat, but maybe there I am here. This is it. So it's important to think about these things and the specificity and the relationship. I think it's a great conversation, and it's kind of up to us to determine what that means for us while dealing with copy that what maybe sometimes it's not well written, or the notes don't make sense, or and James, if you want to back me up, he's also told me that sometimes he's just like, okay, these notes, I'm still doing my thing. Like, these notes may make sense, but I'm still infusing myself into this enough that, it's my personal read. So yeah. Oh, and there's teleprompter stuff in the chat. Okay, y'all, there's so many. Sorry, there's like a plane going by. It's okay. There are so many great questions in this chat, and I want to say, okay, there's just one more thing I wanted to hit is in our last moments here. One of our friends was asking about if you have a narration demo, can you use that for audiobooks to try to get audiobook jobs? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from David as we segue out of this today's session.
Yeah, I mean, you can use a narration demo for audiobook work, but it probably won't work very well because think about it from the client's perspective. If or even pretend that you are the client, and if you are the client and you are personally looking to hire a voice actor to narrate an audiobook, then what will be more incentivizing to you to listen to? Will it be more incentivizing to listen to an audiobook demo or a narration demo or a commercial demo? I mean, more than likely you'll sort of want to listen to the audiobook demo because that's what you're looking to hire. So ideally you have a demo that focuses, or at least that has the title of the genre that the client is looking for. That's one of the reasons why some voice actors, especially established voice actors, have multiple demos. They may have one audiobook demo and one documentary demo and one commercial demo and on and on. And so if a client is considering you to be a voice that they hire for a documentary, then they would listen to the documentary demo. But I really understand that when you're brand new to the industry, recording 10 or 15 different demos is just not typically practical, right? So maybe you just put out a narration demo that's sort of like a conglomeration of a whole bunch of different styles. It may have one segment of a documentary and one segment of corporate video and so on. And it lands you some work. And then down the road, you take money that you receive from your work and you reinvest it into more demos, like you build your portfolio. That's a that's a pretty common way to go about building your success rate over the years.
My dear friends, I've got 2 minutes to the hour, and I do have one David Goldberg who has some stuff to do today. So I'm gonna let him, I'm gonna try to respect that time. Boy, it's hard for this Libra to, manage all of that. But I am dropping some links in the chat as I like to do. So we've got our $25 off coaching code using AMA with this link, so you can work with anybody in the studio, especially if it's your first time. That code also works for private coaching with David. Underneath of that link, I've got our free resource center. So if you haven't joined that, you got to make a little password, get in there, and join our community that way. Leslie, you're so welcome. Everyone, it was really, really great to see you again. So many great questions. I'm so sorry we didn't get to them all, but we will be back in September. It's currently September. We are coming back. We are observing the holiday on the 16th, so I will see you all on the 23rd, and that will feature one guest star by the name of Dan Friedman. He likes karaoke and he bakes pies. He's also a home studio expert. So we are going to party with Dan on the 23rd. I'm super jazzed about that, and I would love to have you all there. So bring your home studio vibing questions, and if I didn't get to your burning question today, feel free to DM me on Twitter or any of the socials and give me your question so I can bring it first and foremost at the next session. I am sorry if I missed you. There's so much good conversation going. And again, I just want to express my gratitude to you all for being here. It is so good to see you. David, last words on this last minute?
Last words are you guys rock. I feel like I have the same last words and I say the same thing every time, but you guys do rock. And I appreciate you joining us. It's very fun to answer questions. And Siobhán and I in Olivet Studio, thank you and hope that this is helpful. So yeah, we'll see you in 3 weeks this time, not 2 weeks, but 3 weeks.
See you in 3 weeks if you're observing the holiday. Happy, happy Yom Kippur. And well wishes to you all. And we'll see you soon. Have a great, great beginning intro to your weekend. Mwah! Bye.
Bye, everyone.